Jean-Claude Van Damme, the Belgian bodybuilder who lives forever. The person who once made everyone hold their breath. There was Frank Dux in Bloodsport, Kurt Sloan in Kickboxer, and the famous twins in Double Impact. He wasn't just a movie star. He was a legend, a furious storm of strength and grace, and a live reminder of the best martial arts movies ever made in Hollywood. His splits were impossible for a human body to do. People will always remember his powerful kicks and piercing eyes from the 1980s and 1990s. His name has become an icon. But behind the bright lights and loud cheers were hurts that would never heal. 5 failed marriages, betrayals that broke his trust, an addiction that almost killed him, scandals that smeared his honor, and a darkness that still follows his heroes. Van Damme is 63 years old now and no longer fights for glory. He has to deal with a chapter that is tougher than any part he's ever played. A warrior with scars that won't heal. No amount of light can hide the pain that haunts them. Still, behind those eyes are secrets they never tell. What hurts are still burning in the dark. The answers are sad, frightening, and will stay with you forever. Hit like now if you still respect the legend who took over the world. Tribute to a fighter whose biggest fights didn't happen on screen, but in real life. A fragile spirit lived behind the man who could break mountains with one kick. It fought quiet wars against weakness, fear, and the cruel echo of laughter that left scars that no one could see. Jean-Claude Van Damme, whose real name was Jean-Claude Camille François van Warenberg, was born on October 18, 1960, in Berm-Saint-Agathe, a quiet area close to Brussels. His father, Eugen, was a bookkeeper and kept things in order with numbers. Eleliana, his mother, was a flower and added lots of color to their simple home. His only friend was his sister, Veronique. Life seemed normal at first glance. But what he saw in the mirror broke his heart. A thin boy with big glasses was made fun of as a pity 4 eyes. Someone who dreams but is stuck in a body that is too weak to carry his dreams. He remembered that when he was 11, he stood and stared at his image and felt ashamed. He vowed to change the ending of his own story. He fought his first fights not in a ring, but in his heart, against being laughed at, doubt, and the crushing quiet that felt heavier than words. Because his dad could feel the storm inside him, he put him in the center, National Decorat, and excels with Master Claude Guts. Jean-Claude trained hard for 4 years until he was used to being disciplined. He became a black belt in Shotokan Karate when he was 18 years old and then joined Belgium's national team, finally learning how to use fear and shame to get things done. But being strong wasn't enough. Despite being made fun of, he picked ballet. 5 years of hard work on the bar made me more balanced, graceful, and strong than I could have ever imagined. After many years, he would say that ballet is the hardest. You can handle anything if you can make it through a dance workout. He turned to bodybuilding to finish the change, which turned the weak boy into a man of steel. When he claimed to be Mr. Belgium in 1978, everyone took notice. But the things he had won inside were more important than the prizes. Trust. He was about 12 years old and was having a bad night. He went into a church by himself and whispered 3 wishes that couldn't come true, in order to make it big in movies and save the world. They may have been naive, but they were lifelines for a lonely boy who was dying for light. These early battles, which were painful, cruel, and strangely beautiful, left a mark on his soul and prepared him for a fate that was bigger than he could have imagined. Jean-Claude Van Damme was already practicing for the biggest fight of his life, from a small Belgian church to the harsh mirrors of a dance studio, from a broken pride to black belt discipline. Not an enemy on the screen, but the darkness inside him and the harsh certainty of the world that he would never be enough. He had built up his muscles through karate, dancing, and bodybuilding before he left Belgium. Even though he was strong, it wasn't enough to protect him from what America had in store. In 1982, Jean-Claude Van Damme and his friend Michichel Chi came to the United States with only $3,000, a broken accent, and a dream that was bigger than their bodies. He was just another unknown immigrant looking at a city that didn't care if he lived or died. Hollywood was a very long way away. At night, he slept curled up in the back seat of a beat-up car. The seats were torn and the windows were fogged with his own breath. He was so hungry that he couldn't sleep. Later, he admitted that he did steal food, an apple here and a sandwich there, not out of defiance but out of despair, the kind of desperation that makes you feel empty inside. Days and weeks went by while I walked around and knocked on studio doors over and over again, only to have them shut every time. Some said there were over 100 tryouts, and they all ended the same way. A nice smile, a shake of the head, or even worse, laughter at the way he slurred his words in English. Every turn down hurt like a knife. After that, the phone wasn't just quiet when it was silent. That was his sentence, and he might never fit in again. Still, he forced himself to stretch, train, and split every morning, even though he was hungry. He did it until his legs hurt. In my mind, I always thought that my dream would come true. Every day, I told God, "Thank you ahead of time for my success." He later admitted that believing was crazy, but that was all he had. In Belgium, people made fun of him by calling him a pity for eyes. As soon as he got to America, he was treated like any other stranger. He only had one thing that stayed the same, the discipline of his body, which was the only language he could still speak perfectly. He worked anywhere that would hire him to make money, delivering pizzas, putting down parquet floors, driving limos, and even working as a bouncer at Woody's Wharf, Chuck Norris's bar. It was very funny that they were guarding strangers at night while they dreamed of fighting bad guys in movies. He kept coming back and offering his hands and smile, sure that someone would notice one day. He flashed quickly across the screen in 1984's Breakin' as a background dancer whose splits most people didn't notice. The same in Missing Action, he joined Chuck Norris's stunt team for a year. The job paid almost nothing, but it showed he could bleed for the camera. It was never easy to get the break. He finally got a part with a name and a face in 1986 when he played the Russian bad guy Ivan in No Retreat, No Surrender. It was a small, poorly made movie, but it was a win that felt like sun after years of rain. He wasn't a kid in the back of a car who was hungry anymore. He was on TV. These were not exciting years. They were mean. Exile means poverty, shame, and a terrible sense of being alone. Those were the people he fought. But the toughness that would later make him the muscles from Brussels came from the depths of that fight. Every turn down was a cut, and every night in that car was a scar. And yet, each one was a part of the making of a tale. He had once shivered through the nights in the backseat of a broken-down car, with only his hunger for company. He stole bits of food to calm his stomach down and walked out of the casting rooms after being made fun of for his accent. He was turned down over 100 times, telling him he would never fit in. Still, things changed for him in 1988. That scared boy who had knelt in a Belgian church and whispered 3 impossible dreams now saw one come true. In the movie Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme became famous overnight. He played Frank Duck in a secret tournament on screen, but he was really fighting for every cold night, every slammed door, and every insult that said he wasn't there. Made for only $1. $5 million, the movie became a worldwide hit, and The Immigrant with Broken English became the most talked-about action movie ever. He would admit it later. "I cried when Bloodsport came out because the little boy in Belgium was finally shown." He was no longer a ghost for the first time because of the loud cheers and bright lights. It wasn't easy to get successful. It came crashing down like a wave. Kickboxer went from a small budget to a $50 million hit, and the picture of a drunk dancer exploding into a split kick will live on forever. A string of movies came after. Lionheart and Death Warrant were both big hits that showed he wasn't a one-time thing. The story got bigger with double impact. Van Damme against Van Damme. Beautiful and tough at the same time. Then Universal Soldier put him right next to Dolph Lundgren. A brutal fight that made him famous all over the world and earned him more than $100 million. Then Time Cop came out on top, more than $100 million at the theaters. Max Walker showed a man who could break bones and break hearts, which made critics quiet. The world saw the fragile dreamer behind the brawler for a split second. Even video games were scared of him. Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat was made to look like him, right down to the letters and swagger. Jean-Claude Van Damme did a lot more than just star in movies. He changed the shape of it. But the cruel irony was already seeing Ping through the glitz. The dream that had once saved him from being hungry and shamed was now holding him down with golden chains. Later, Van Damme admitted with weary honesty, I was working too much, flying from set to set, exhausted. I couldn't see my family stardom had saved him once, but now it was devouring him piece by piece. The relentless schedule left him bruised before the next camera even rolled.